I'm sure most of us who fall within the age bracket of 18 to 44 spent the better part of our day yesterday trying to register ourselves at the CoWIN site and to find slots to get ourselves vaccinated from 1st of May onward. Well, initially there were glitches on the site seemed to have crashed, but that was the least of the problems. The bigger problem was that there seemed to be no slots available at all. So what is really happening? Why is it that while the center has said that vaccinations can be rolled out for everybody above the age of 18 from the 1st of May, that states are not being able to provide slots? Are there no jabs available with the states? These are the questions to which Avantika Ghosh will help us try and find answers today in this episode of Government Matters. Avantika, so did you also spend a considerable part of your day yesterday trying to get yourself a slot?
Yes, post 4 p.m. Yes.
Yeah. So I was lucky. I managed a slot, but I don't know if I will get the jab.
Yeah, highly unlikely.
Right. So, okay. So, Avantika, explain to us what is happening, because, and clearly at this point, vaccine hesitancy has given way to vaccine eagerness, and there are no jabs available.
Yeah, so what seems to have happened is, suddenly on 20th of April, when we sprang this idea that from now on 50% to Government of India, 50% to others, there was very little clarity. We were trying to organize, you're aware, and the private hospitals had zero knowledge where to get vaccines from, what to do about them, sort of how much are they really supposed to pay, and all of that. There was no clarity on that. Then when the vaccine prices were announced, all this differential pricing created a political storm. But in all of this, what essentially happened is that, see, Government of India had given some orders in the last week of March, and those are still coming in. So I was talking to a vaccine manufacturer yesterday, and the sense that I get is those deliveries are still going on, and they will go on for some time to come, which is why it is unlikely that fresh orders that are placed post 20th. Also, see, we all know how governments function. States would have taken a little bit of time to process the order and decide which vaccine. Serum came out with the orders, I think, just one day later. Bharat took a few more days to come out with their prices, and their prices are huge, really, for a vaccine that has been developed with the virus from the Government of India, which is the National Institute of Virology. Bharat is really charging a lot of money. It has not revised its rates either. Serum has. So all of these things, I think there was such a logistical sort of confusion that this thing has landed in, that nobody has any clue. Even states, leave alone, even if we say that states like Chhattisgarh and Maharashtra and all of these are politically motivated and they are saying these things because of politics. But even a state like Uttar Pradesh, for example, which has done some very good vaccination numbers, they are also saying that we can't do it from 1st of May because we don't have vaccines. We've not put in place all that purchase logistics. So yeah, that's where, and that's probably why we don't have slots. There has to be way more clarity on this, because remember, even when slots open, the new rules mandate that the private hospitals will have to tell you what is it that they have, how much are they charging, how much, what is their stock, all of that. So you will share that information only when you have it. That's
right. So the $1 million question then, Avantika, is that why did the center open vaccinations from the 1st of May? I mean, if you're not prepared, then you don't do this, because what you're doing eventually is confusing people to the extent that nobody knows what's happening.
I think there was a lot of pressure. There is, as you can see, there is a lot of international pressure building up right now. We have altered our policy of 16 years of not accepting aid. That's how bad things are. So the center wanted to be seen to be doing something, really. And all of this confusion, remember, gives us something to talk about aside of the death and destruction and complete devastation that all of us are living through, all of us are seeing around us. Maybe that is the reason, because really, to give 20 days time for procurement and for systems to be put in place, when all of this time you have stonewalled all attempt by states to procure vaccines on their own. I do not really see a kind of intent where they really wanted this 1st May thing to get off to a start, because 10 days is way too short. And if anybody knew about the position of vaccine stockpiles or the manufacturing capacity of vaccines, that is the government of India. They had the best knowledge aside of the companies themselves. And companies are now saying that we are caught up in government of India order. So government of India must have known that when they did this.
Right. Okay, now vaccines may not be pouring in, but questions sure are. So let me begin with this question from Dinesh. Why are there no vaccines? Are we not prepared for something like a mega vaccination drive? So, how is it that a country like India, where vaccines were being manufactured from really much before they even got approval, how is it that we are still not prepared for a vaccination drive?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I've said this in Government Matters before, but manufacturing vaccines is a long process, as is the development. So if India took some missteps, for example, the advance credit, purchase credit that we have now given to the vaccine manufacturers, just a couple of weeks back, we have given those advance credits. That should have come earlier so that they could plow it back into manufacturing. Last July, when ICMR was writing that bizarre letter to scientists saying, please speed up, please crunch the vaccine development process into 6 weeks. If instead of doing that, if we were trying to rope in all of the manufacturing facilities that we had at our disposal, Chengalpattu or Hafkin or all of these things, and try to put them into place, that the vaccine development was happening, we knew we would have a vaccine in 6 months, 8 months, whatever. Somehow, the government of India, and this I am saying this is not a conjecture, because I have had conversations with very senior government officials who have told me that we will open up in phases, vaccinations will open up in phases. Kya pata? Tab tak ho sakta hai virus rahe hi nahi. This is one conversation. The second conversation is that even when everybody could see there was a supply bottleneck, the government of India, very characteristically, I have to say, refused to accept that there is a vaccine bottleneck. They kept saying we have ample vaccines. It's the states who cannot vaccinate. It's vaccine hesitancy, all kinds of things. And the result is that 3.5 months after our vaccination drive started, we have less than 2% Indians who are fully vaccinated. And we have this raging second wave, which shows no signs of abating. Our health infrastructure has collapsed. We've been brought to our knees. And I have, from all my conversations, from whatever I have sort of followed since the launch of the vaccination drive, it's just that we were caught napping, nothing else.
Right. Okay. Shresh Nagpal, do you think it would have been better if registration on CoWIN had not been mandatory? In my opinion, that would have been better. So, no walk-ins are allowed now, right? For 18 to 44 category?
No, not anymore. From 1st of May, it won't be allowed.
So I think that's Shresh's question, that, why this rigidity when it perhaps could be smoother if people are allowed to walk in and take the jab?
I kind of agree, not fully agree. I kind of agree, because this kind of rigidity, if you have to implement, then you also have to make the process very smooth. You have to make vaccines available. Once you have taken care of your side of the thing, then you can put all these restrictions. But on the other side, remember this, I mean, the way we are going now, and I have a strong suspicion that that's how it is going to be even with the CoWIN registration, it's virtually going to be a free-for-all. Poor, vulnerable people will be left behind, because that's the way it's headed. So I'm not sure the CoWIN registration is going to fulfill that purpose, because we see a plan in that direction. But yes, I kind of agree that if you cannot ensure the logistics, if you're not capable of ensuring a smooth rollout, then why this rigidity? That part I agree with.
Right. Okay. Vaibhav Datta, can we have Sputnik available in the private sector, or will it be available only through the central government? So what is this conversation about these companies saying that they'll only deal with the government and not private hospitals?
No, I don't think companies have said that, because private hospitals, in fact, have been clearly told that you get your vaccine supplies from the manufacturers. You're not going to get it from the state government. Most
Hmm.
states have now told. Delhi has, West Bengal has. So, but coming to Sputnik, not just Sputnik, the way the vaccine policy currently stands, no vaccine, even if it gets a license in India, um, is any vaccine that gets a license in the future is unlikely to be available in a pharmacy anytime soon. That part is very clear. That is laid
Hmm.
down, that the government of India has also made clear. As for Sputnik, we're not expecting Sputnik. I was just talking to Dr. Reddy's this morning, and we're not expecting Sputnik supplies before May, the first
Okay.
supplies to come into the country. Uh, that's where it stands currently. But other than Sputnik, once other foreign-made vaccine manufacturers, once they get a license in the country, then private companies, private hospitals, all of these people are free to import them for their employees, or sort of give it to citizens for a fee, and all of that. That can happen, but that is subject to as and when these vaccines get a license. They have to be approved in India for that, all that import business to happen.
All right. Okay. Hitesh Nautiyal. Recently, SII reduced the price of vaccine. Is there a possibility that Bharat Biotech will also do that? And can you please elaborate on the pricing of these vaccines? So what is determining the pricing?
There is very little clarity. Let's say there's very little transparency on what is determining the vaccine. But from my conversations with the industry, with government, what I sort of gather is that government of India negotiated these two fantastic prices: first 200 rupees per dose, and then 150 rupees per dose. And then the understanding, I think, sort of was that this is the first tranche that you're giving us. After that, you can, and remember, even at 150, SII, and Adar Poonawalla is on record on this, that SII was making a small profit with 150, but it was not enough to make further investments. That was their complaint. So now my sort of assumption is that there was this understanding that this first so many crore doses you give us at this special price, after that you can make your profit. And that's the profiteering. I don't like the word profiteering, but I mean, that's the profit making that seems to be happening now. But for Bharat, it is extremely interesting. Actually, for both, it's interesting because, but at least Serum would be paying some sort of royalty to AstraZeneca, which is the actual owner of the thing. But Bharat has got its technology, its virus, it has got scientific support from the government of India. So the government of India ideally should have more leverage to control Bharat prices than SII prices. That is, in fact, I mean, I am told Bharat's pricing to even SII by surprise. Okay.
Right. Sorry, I think I lost a network for a bit. Okay. There's this question from Vipin. What is the best practice being followed by other nations for vaccinations? Are we going around in a haphazard way?
Certainly. We are going around in a haphazard way. We started with the phases. We did some amount of progress, but right now this opening up, the complete lack of planning, everything is completely haphazard. Yeah.
I'm sorry, my network is just coming and going. Sorry, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So yeah, we are going in a completely haphazard manner, and somehow we are acting like states. Yeah, I mean, they are different entities. Center and the states are different entities, but I mean, they are not at odds with each other. All of them are supposed to come together and do the same thing, which is vaccination. It's not like Delhi gets vaccinated, Haryana doesn't get vaccinated. That doesn't help anybody. That global thing of nobody is safe till everybody is safe also applies to India. But somehow we are acting like we are in different countries. The center is a different country, states are different countries. Everybody is I mean, they are political opponents, no doubt, but it fails. I mean, it completely confuses me why there is so little sort of coordination. Why is everybody acting like, center buys up the cheaper vaccines and then tells the states, oh, you go buy the more expensive ones. Private hospitals have no clue what is happening. So I'm not sure why this confusion is happening, but yeah, we are certainly going in a very haphazard manner.
Okay, Vineet Ambat is also talking about the lack of coordination, which I think you've dealt with in a fair bit of detail. Tiash says, what do you think is the reason for overcoming vaccine hesitancy? So as I said, vaccine hesitancy now clearly seems to be a thing of the past. Now it's vaccine eagerness. I think, is it the second wave, the surge, which has sort of led to this?
Certainly, because world over, one of the reasons for vaccine hesitancy for other diseases also is that when a vaccine is very successful, people forget what the disease looks like. And then they get into all this thing of this is a conspiracy, this is this, this is that. So now that the disease is back, it is certainly, I mean, it's for everybody to see that it's not anybody's conspiracy. There is a problem. And now that our health facilities are so completely overwhelmed, people understand that this is the only thing that will give me some amount of protection, whatever that is.
Right. Okay. This is a question from this handle called GIZM3. Do you think that states are not procuring vaccines from manufacturers, hoping that they would try and do a cartel kind of bargaining and hope to reduce prices?
The best chance of that really was for the center. And traditionally, vaccines for universal immunization program in India have been procured by the center and given to the states. And why that has happened is basically because of that bulk buying. They are capable of negotiating better rates, which is what was happening in the first part. So now, right now that negotiation, I don't see it happening immediately because vaccine supplies are short. There is more demand than supply. And I don't think any state can wait and bargain and all that because the supplies will be snapped up and then you don't know when the fresh supplies will come, when the fresh batches will come. So I don't think any state is deliberately delaying, thinking of negotiating a better rate.
Right. Okay, I'll take this one last question from Sumanto Kakuti. Did we mismanage our vaccine diplomacy? So also to add to that question, I think everybody seems to be asking this, that did we export too soon without keeping in mind the needs of India's population?
I think we did. And now we are at a position where, we are actually having to accept other people's, if vaccine diplomacy was made to be our soft power, that's been completely nullified by all this aid that we are now forced to accept because we don't have any other option.
Right.
I'm not saying those 6.5 crore vaccinations would have vaccinated all of India. That's not the point I'm making. But maybe you would have had a few more vaccinated people. And if optics is important, then what kind of optics is this, that you give away vaccines that could have gone for your own, when every other country is doing exactly the opposite. They are hoarding vaccines, they're keeping vaccines for their people. US has more vaccines than
they need. Right.
Yeah. So, and we are going around giving it away when we can't have enough for our own people. That is kind of difficult to understand. It's a little bit like you earn 100 rupees, you donate 60 rupees so that people think you're great. And then when you're in a crisis, you have no savings, you're forced to borrow 600 rupees. I don't think that makes you look any better.
Not particularly prudent. Right. All right. So on that note, for our viewers, you may be able to log into CoWIN. You're probably even getting your OTPs and all smoothly now, but there seem to be no slots available. Avantika explaining to us why and what exactly is the bottleneck. But let's hope this gets ironed out soon enough and that, everybody in the country who's eligible to get vaccinated does take the jab. Thank you so much for watching Government Matters. Avantika, thank you for being with us on this show.